Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards Football. I'd like to give special thanks to our very talented producer, a.k.a. Babyface Nelson, Mr. Logan Landers. And today, our 2024 NFL Draft videos on Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of the University of Washington. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And if you like the video, one more time, please come in and share it. Breaking this young man's film down. It's the most talented guy out there covering the 2024 NFL Draft. If I had to be like Napoleon and going to wars over there in Europe and have this young man with me talking about all these great players, it's nobody better that's doing it at this level. I put him against anybody from ESPN, from Fox Sports. The gentleman is the best that's ever done it. He's coming to us live out of Key West, Florida. The very talented, the savant of the 2024 NFL Draft, the genius, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, Mr. Turner, I'm doing really well. Thank you. It's always good to be on this great, awesome, amazing platform with you. I'm talking about these NFL players, these prospects, and providing probably more comprehensive draft coverage than anything that's out there. So I really do enjoy this. We got a good one today.
Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of the University of Washington. What do you love about him?
Ooh, wow. Well, it's like a Snickers commercial. Not going anywhere for a while. a lot of things that I love about Rome Odunze. First of all, take a look at him on your screen there. 6'3", 215 pounds. Number one on the field, and he's going to go first round. Everything I do when I evaluate players from my NFL draft website, firstroundmock.com, where you can find all the different prospects for this year's draft. The one thing I do is I put all the links to the game film. Game film trumps everything, as I've said many, many times. I keep beating on the same drum about game film. Game film is king at firstroundmock.com when I look at these guys. 13 games total evaluate 2022 and 2023 season. Rome Odunze. In 2023, I looked at him against Oregon, Boise State, Arizona, USC, Utah, Oregon State, Tulsa, and Michigan State. Hey, as Bill Belichick always used to say, according to my NFL scouting mentor who won a couple rings with him, this is a bottom line business. And the bottom line on Rome Odunze there on your screen, he is the second coming of Jets legendary wide receiver Al Toon. That is the name that kept going through my mind when I watched Rome Odunze play ball. Ironically, according to the JetsPress.com, Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson is trying to convince the Jets, trying to recruit Rome Odunze to play for the New York Jets. But unfortunately, guys, as much as exciting as that would be and that would move the meter, I as a former Jets pro scout, absolutely positively cannot see a scenario where the Jets draft anything at all but an offensive tackle in the first round. The Jets need offensive tackles worse than grass needs water, especially with 40-year-old quarterback Aaron Rodgers coming back off that Achilles injury. Odunze, however, flipping the script back to him, looks like one of those classic old-school receivers that makes it look easy. On film, as smooth as butter, okay? He's a classic number one wide receiver, lining up on the outside of the formation pre-snap. His size is a real problem in terms of matchups against corners. 6'3", 215 pounds, as I mentioned. He combines that size with a sleek-looking release from the line of scrimmage pre-snap that enables him to win route leverage with ease. What's route leverage? One of my biggest pet peeves when we watch football games these days is announcers talk about all these different high-level football terms. And there's a lot of people out there that know what route leverage is, but some don't. And there's nothing wrong with that. The thing I loved about John Madden and Pat Summerall growing up is they unpacked the terminology, and that's what I learned the game from. Route leverage is the ability for a wide receiver to gain positional advantage against a quarterback that he's matched up against. With his size, Odunze can play that big man's game, okay? At 6'3", he can get up in there and play that big man's game. But don't touch that dial because he has the hip fluidity, which is a big thing that scouts look for in receivers. He has the hip fluidity of a smaller, more agile receiver that enables him to make whoop, 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 those quick little changes at the route break point where they break off the routes. He can make those quick little changes of direction, which is what creates throwing windows, of course, areas of space for the quarterback to throw the ball into. Another nice thing about Odunze is he's a natural catcher, and that, folks, is the name of the game. For wide receivers. If you're good at anything, you better be good at catching the ball, and he is. And he has been showing improvement in terms of catch rate, catch percentage, overall, the big body of work he's had over his 4 college seasons. In 2020, his catch rate was at 60%. 2021, it slipped down a notch to 56.9%. 2022, he came back with 66.9 and increased it to 69.9% catch rate in 2023. Average 4-year college catch rate, 65.2, which is pretty darn good in any scouting department in the National Football League. What really makes Odunze special is his phenomenal concentration, ball tracking skills, and his hands are like glue. Okay, I sat there sitting. I mean, there's nothing glamorous about watching film. It's a grind. I love it. 12 hours of film feels like 15 minutes to me. I love it. But as you're watching the film, I found myself sitting at my kitchen table all alone saying, wow, damn, that was good. Many times watching Odunze play ball. While Odunze doesn't have that big name like a Marvin Harrison Jr., I do have him ranked above Harrison Jr. at my first round board that I released as of this morning on Twitter at First Round Mock. He's somebody who I currently have Odunze as WR4 on my board, behind Xavier Legette, Ad Mitchell, and Malik Neighbors. Is it really true? Is Kelly just running his mouth, or is it really true that Odunze is a better NFL prospect than Marvin Harrison Jr.? Well, according to ABC News, pretty big source, Odunze's 44% contested catch rate, and I do quote, was tied for 5th amongst players with at least 40 contested targets, well ahead of Harrison's 32%. And Odunze's 24 missed tackles were well ahead of Harrison's 6. So according to ABC News, there are some stats in Odunze's corner that rank him above Marvin Harrison Jr. overall. When you're unpacking the finer points, the finer details of the position, if I'm sitting in a war room talking about him, they call on me for my turn to talk. The positives and negatives, all players have them, both sides of the equation. The positives first. Odunze, strong, proportionate built frame, dynamic, has a dynamic look and feel to him when you watch him on film. Athletic. He's a threat at all 3 route levels. He can attack all 3 levels. What I mean is short range, intermediate, and deep. So the 0 to 19, short to intermediate range, and then deeper than that downfield. Dependable hands, as I touched on. Improved deep game in 2023 versus 2022 in film. And a good. If you want to watch some film, you can go to the Scouting Report on my site, like I mentioned. Some good deep film on Odunze is against Utah, Oregon State, and Michigan State. Quick, choppy feet at the break point. Love that about him. Enables him to change direction quickly and gain a positional advantage, and the quarterback has a bigger throwing window to throw into. Agile. Glides into secondaries like a sports car. How do sports cars run, right? They run pretty smooth and pretty fast. And that 0 to 60, that initial jump, that acceleration, he accelerates like a sports car into secondaries, driving off the line of scrimmage at the snap. He runs nice looking routes. He has a nose for soft spots in the coverage. He put on an absolute contested catch clinic against number 7 as far as like level of competition, and looking at the level of competition, number 7 Oregon, he put on a clinic against them with contested catches. And it's something where he also has that coveted second gear. Listen, we talk about sports cars. When Odunze is running down the field in full throttle, full gear, he did show that coveted, that burst, that little jump in speed, that little burst to keep going even faster when required. He's also very competitive, as yakety yak yards after the catch. He plays the game like he loves it. which is huge, very important, was one of Bill Parcells, who I worked under at the Jets. One of his critical factors of scouting was, is football important to him? The answer is yes. He plays like it on film. He's also somebody who can take an end around. He can do a jet sweep or all that, and run around behind and take the handoff. And he's also a decent blocker. Okay, negatives. He can struggle to create separation at times, especially on outside releases. He really struggled to create separation. And that's something that's a little bit of a mystery to me, even after I've watched all this film. And the only thing I contribute to is maybe he's not the primary target on some of these routes, because he has the physical gifting and ability to create separation, but sometimes he just doesn't, which is one of his biggest negatives. And also, he has average catch radius. What's catch radius? The ability to go up, go down, go to the sides, just back to the ball. It's average. It's not. He's not jumping off a gym. He's not scooping. It's not like a shortstop scooping passes off the turf all the time. He's not making crazy backwards adjustments. He's just got average catch radius. I have a first-round grade on Rome Odunze. As I've stated, the guy looked like an all-pro wide receiver. In conclusion, who snuck into the Huskies locker room and decided to play for them for a few games. He's and bottom line, I've compared him to a legend, and not just a comp, not just an average comp, but I've compared him to a legend with the New York Jets, who I worked for, Al Toon, who I grew up also watching play back in the day. I would love to see Rome Odunze end up with the Chicago Bears. I would love to see him end up with the Chicago Bears. Ryan Poles, are you listening? I would love to see him end up with the Chicago Bears. I think he would provide an incredible weapon and a threat for quarterback Justin Fields. Another team that's very interesting to keep an eye open for Rome Odunze are the Las Vegas Raiders. Your thoughts, Mr. Turner, on Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington Huskies?
Well, you look at the University of Washington and you think about all the great offensive players they have. And then I was looking at Rome Odunze. I thought about that 1991 national championship team. And I was thinking about them two gentlemen they had on the outside with Billy Joe Hurwitz and Marv Grinnell under the center. They had Mario Bailey and Orlando McKay. Those pretty good football players and played at a high level that season. He puts me in the mind of those two gentlemen. And then you think about all the great offensive players that's played at UW. Reggie Williams, Corey Dillon, Napoleon Kaufman, and then, of course, Joe Steele, and the great man out of L.A. by the name of Warren Moon. And all of them had one thing in common that I see Mr. Odunze has at the receiver position. Very, very confident. He's a very confident football player. Then think about this. He was all Pac-12 back-to-back. So that's saying something. And I really didn't take a look at his play because, out there the Pac-12 last year, they wasn't really considered a strong conference. Then we know what happened this year. Then I started taking a little bit look at his play. Then I look at his career stats. He had over 214 receptions, 3,200 yards, averaged almost 15 yards a catch, 24 touchdowns. But when I really took him serious, when they played against Oregon, boy, did he put on the show. He looked like man among boys. Then I said, okay, he still got that competition in the Pac-12. Then in the college football semifinals against Texas. Boy, did he look like he belonged. Over 100 yards, and man, he had them Texas DBs on their skates. And then I started thinking, who does he remind me most of all when I'm comparing him? He got a little bit of Eddie Brown, who was on that first University of Miami national championship team. That was the first round pick with Cincinnati. That kind of start ability. We call it the neighborhood and speed. Then he got a little bit of that glidness, like that Tom Gatewood that played in Notre Dame in the early 70s. And then you can help me out, DK. If you want to say comparisons, everybody talked about the greatest show on turf, right? They talked about Marshall Faulk. They talked about Isaac Bruce. They talked about Kurt Warner. But Rome Odunze got a lot of Torrey Holt in him. So the gentleman is an excellent, excellent football player. He's got great size. And to me, he was a track star over there in Las Vegas at Bishop Gorman where the Super Bowl was going on. Outstanding guy. Ran that Olympic in high school 200 meters at 21.25. That's Olympic status there. But when you look at him, He's a football player that plays at a very high level, confident-wise. I like him. I like his style. And boy, did he make Michael Penix Jr. look good this year. Back to you, Mr. Kelly.
Hey, some really good thoughts and perspective, as always, from you, Mr. Turner, on the history of this great game, which I think is really important, for our listeners to really appreciate it because, it's something that's like when I worked at the Jets with Mr. Dick Haley, God rest his soul, who was our director of player personnel when I was there, who built the Steelers dynasty of the 1970s. And, it was interesting listening to him talk when I was a young man because, he would say, he had 40, 50 years of experience. He could reference, he was talking about a tight end like Kyle Brady. He was referencing Todd Christensen, who played back for the Raiders. But I mean, having that perspective of history is very, very important when it comes to evaluating these players and because really what this is, every piece of information is like a piece to a puzzle. And it's like putting it together, understanding the history of the game, understanding where the game's headed to in the future, what the timeline is, looking at the player, looking up through NFL glasses, being able to project him into the NFL. These are all part of that puzzle on these prospects. In conclusion, I'll say this about Odunze. I really love this guy. Okay. I really took to him on film in both seasons. I looked at him. I had a second round grade in the preseason heading in the 2023 season on Odunze just because he had a couple questions that were unanswered in my mind. I elevate him to a first round because he answered those questions. I liked his deep game better in 2023, like I mentioned. And I'll say this in closing is that you touched on something very important, Mr. Turner. You said something about the confidence that this young man has, and so much of this game, we can look at all the stats of the combine and how many times they bench 225 and how many times they can run around a little orange cone as fast as they can. But what it really comes down to in this game, this great game, is belief. It comes down to confidence. As they say in scouting, the game is won or lost from the neck up, okay? All these guys are big and fast or big or fast at the NFL level. Having confidence coming in as a rookie, having that swag, knowing you can do your thing out there against these NFL cornerbacks that have many, many years of experience on you. Some of them been playing the NFL for the longest since this guy's been in elementary school. They understand the game. They understand how receivers run. But there is no substitute for that confidence because whoever wants that ball more when it's in the air is going to get it. They're going to get that ball. And that's why my money's on Odunze. Send the card in. I really like him.
I'd like to give special thanks today to our very talented producer, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen today. I'd like to give special thanks again to the savant of the 2024 NFL Draft, Mr. Daniel Kelly, coming live to us out of Key West, Florida. My final words about Odunze, Super Bowl IV, a.k.a. Odunze, the next great Otis Taylor on that 46-yard pass he took to the house when I was 9 years old in the third grade. Odunze, a.k.a. Otis Taylor, the Kansas City Chiefs. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football. Thank you.